Financially free with Cleo.
Hey, this is Cleo with CleoYogaFinance.com, and welcome back for another episode of Financially Free with Cleo, a show where we shift mindsets with real and raw money conversations with everyday people, empowering you to take action, appreciate the journey, and live the lifestyle you desire, financially, mentally, and physically. Today is going to be another solo episode with me, myself, and I. And I'm going to be talking about living paycheck to paycheck, what it really is, and how we can break that paycheck to paycheck cycle. So I first want to start with some statistics, just to give you some insight on what's really going on in this world, specifically in the US, when it comes to living paycheck to paycheck. So now, of course, we all are aware that the pandemic has brought a lot of financial hardships to a lot of people. But we already had issues with people living paycheck to paycheck before the pandemic started. So here's just some insight on a few statistics. So in January, 1 in 3 households reported difficulty making ends meet. This is in January 2020, and this is in the United States of America, the US. And before the onset of the economic and health crisis, according to a recent study by Harvard University, George Washington University, and the University of Oxford, about 40% of Americans said that they couldn't cover a $400 unexpected bill. So that means if you had a bill that came up out of nowhere and it was $400, at least $400, you had difficulty paying for it without going into debt or having to sell something to get that money. And that's also according to a Federal Reserve study as well. So we're all aware of all of the statistics and the studies showing that people struggle with money and live paycheck to paycheck. Now, I don't want you to assume that living paycheck to paycheck is only for people who are considered to have lower incomes. There are people out there, individuals and families, who have a lower income, but they are not living paycheck to paycheck. They are happy, they are living well, and they are managing their money in a smart way. And then, on the flip side, you have people out there who are making $200,000 a year, and they are living paycheck to paycheck. And some of us who has never made $200,000 a year, you may wonder, well, what could they be spending their money on? Or how can you make that so much money and still live paycheck to paycheck? Well, the same way lottery winners win money and then 5 years later, they're broke. Or the way some of the athletes get these $1 million deals and then 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, they're broke and don't have any money. Sometimes we can have a lot of money and we're spending a lot of money, which creates a lot of bad money habits, a lot of negative money habits. And you think you have all this time to get it together, right? Then the next thing you know, you're in this difficult financial situation, a big financial hole that you really can't get out of, or it's going to take you a long time to get out of. So I just want to keep that in mind. I want you all to keep that in mind, is that when you hear the words living paycheck to paycheck, a lot of us assume it's people who are in low-income neighborhoods or have low-income, low-paying jobs. But there are people who have high-profile jobs or, decent salary type jobs, and they are still struggling. Not everyone, but some. So again, you have some people who are low income, and you have some people living paycheck to paycheck who have higher incomes. The whole situation about living paycheck to paycheck, the things that doesn't change is the money habits. So we have to first start to think about how are we really spending our money? What are we really spending our money on? When we live paycheck to paycheck, you have to think about, okay, no matter if I'm paid every week, every 2 weeks, once a month, when you receive your money, what is the first thing that you usually do? What is the next thing that you usually do? What are you really spending your money on? When money comes into your checking account, or if you receive a check and you go cash it somewhere, when you get that money, what are you spending your money on? What type of money habits do you have? What type of money behaviors do you have? Are you paying your bills on time? Now, when I talk about living paycheck to paycheck, I'm reminded of myself, because for years I struggled living paycheck to paycheck. There are times where I literally was living paycheck to paycheck so terribly that I literally was remembering the due dates of all of my bills. I used to remember how long I could be past due before I got a late fee. And then I remember how far behind I could be before something was turned off or something was repossessed. It was just a terrible financial situation to be in, struggling paying bills. And I know sometimes things happen in our lives that may be outside of our control that put us in a living to paycheck lifestyle. But a lot of times it's due to our own habits, our own money decisions. We can't blame the president or the government or our city or our state or our family or our friends. We really have to start taking accountability. Sometimes we don't know any better, but sometimes we are at a certain age where we have to know that, hey, you know what? If I don't know how to do something, if I don't know how to stop living paycheck to paycheck, it's my responsibility to learn how to get out of it. There's so many resources out there today through books, videos, social media, blogs, people. There's so many people, there's so many things, there's so many resources out there to learn how to get out of your financial situation. But you can be presented with all these resources and still do nothing about it. So I truly believe that it starts with that mindset first. I talk a lot about mindset, and sometimes people don't want to hear that. They're like, Cleo, give me something else, because this mindset stuff is boring and I don't really see how it helps. But that's the first mistake, not being open to receive new information or things that you may not be used to. You have to shift your mindset and you have to be open to receive information that's going to help you or possibly help you. And that was something that I had to learn myself. I would hear a certain way to manage money or to change my money habits, but I would just automatically assume that it wouldn't work because either it was new to me, I wasn't used to it, or I just didn't think it would work for me, but I didn't even try. So sometimes we have to get out of our own way when it comes to living paycheck to paycheck. And sometimes we let our past financial mistakes really, really, really hold us back. Sometimes we feel like we may not be able to get out of living paycheck to paycheck. But again, you have to start with that mindset. What are your thoughts and feelings about money? And where did that come from? Was it something that happened recently? Something that happened years ago as a young adult or a childhood? Like, what is causing you to spend the way you spend? Or what is making you handle your money the way you're handling it right now? Why are you comfortable living paycheck to paycheck? And sometimes we're afraid to admit it. Yes, I remember when I was living paycheck to paycheck, I was so tired of it. But at the same time, I really didn't do nothing to change it either. So I was comfortable living paycheck to paycheck because the amount of work that it was going to take to change my life was just too much. So I was like, you know what, I'll just kind of stay here and go with the flow and coast it out. And hopefully a miracle will happen and something or somebody will just drop down in my life and do a whole 360 on my life and everything will be better. Or I said, if I can just get that job, or if I can just make this much money, I'll do better. If I make this much more money, I'll do better. If I make $50,000 a year, I'll be straight. Or if I make $100,000 a year, you know what? That's when I'm gonna change. When I can make at least six figures. But what you don't understand is if you can't manage $30,000 a year, if you can't manage $40,000 a year, if you can't manage $80,000 a year, more money is not going to help you change your financial lifestyle. For a moment, it may feel good. For a moment, it may feel like all your answers are going to be taken care of. It may feel like all your problems are going to be solved. But that day is going to come when those same money habits are still there and you're going to realize more money is not the answer. Now, sometimes more money is the answer, but that's only when you have tried all these other options and now you realize, you know what, I've tried all these different things and I've made some progress, but you know what, I really do need to increase my income. But there are other times where more money alone is not the answer. More money feels like the answer, but more money is not always the answer. So I want to remind you to take some time and actually look to see, okay, how much money am I making? Whether this is from your primary job with your employer, or whether it's from a side hustle, some extra money you're making, maybe a side job, or maybe you have your own business, whether if it's full-time or part-time, how much money are you making from there? And you have to start understanding how much money are you bringing in before and after taxes. If you have a business, before, after taxes, after your expenses, you have to start looking at that. And remember, those who are entrepreneurs, freelancers, business owners, making sure you're keeping that personal income and business income separate. Now, when it comes to freelancers and business owners, we can be paycheck to paycheck too, or gig to gig too, or business deal to business deal, or client to client, customer to customer. We can be in that same situation. So it doesn't matter if it's your personal finances or your business finances, you can still be living that paycheck to paycheck, gig to gig, client to client, customer to customer lifestyle. But we don't want to get there. So I remember when I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I would be so stressed trying to make it to the next payday because I didn't have enough money. But then I started to realize, now that I look back on it, a lot of it was my own fault. I was spending out of control. I wasn't managing my money well. I made excuses for myself, and I was in denial for a long time. But one day I had to realize I can't keep living like this. Me getting a job, me getting a paycheck, paying a couple of bills, and then I have nothing. Like, I can't do anything that I enjoy. I barely have enough money for these bills. So that's when I had to say, you know what? Enough is enough. I don't care what these statistics say. I don't care what the community is saying. I don't care what people on social media are saying. This is not it. And I have to make a change. And you can too. So I want to encourage you to make some time this week and write down your thoughts and your feelings about your money as it is right now. And don't be in denial. If you're in denial, you have to work on getting out of being in denial, because as long as you're in denial about living paycheck to paycheck, you will always stay in that same paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. So I want to encourage you to be honest with yourself. Be real with yourself. I know it's not easy. It's not easy at all, because sometimes we want to make excuses or give ourselves the benefit of the doubt, but you have to acknowledge when you have made certain mistakes or certain decisions that has led to you living paycheck to paycheck or staying in paycheck to paycheck cycle. And with the pandemic, I know a lot of people have had a lot of changes with their jobs that's caused them to be living paycheck to paycheck right now. So that's one thing I want to remind you too, is that yes, we may still be in a pandemic, but you still have the power to change your financial lifestyle. It's crazy how we are in a pandemic, right? And a lot of times we complain, we as in some of us, complain about unemployment being no more unemployment extensions, or not passing another stimulus bill. And we just complain about all these different things. But really, it's up to us to make those changes in our lives. And even though we've been in a pandemic, people have still been online shopping. People have still been going out to eat. People still been getting their hair done, their nails done, buying new clothes, going on dates. Now, am I saying you should stop everything and don't do anything fun or that will allow you to relax and, have a good time and be happy? No, I'm not. Because we need a balance, right? We can't just work, and don't have any fun. But you can't complain about you not having any money, you living paycheck to paycheck. Oh, we need another stimulus. But you still mismanage your money over here and spending money on stuff that you don't really need right now. You can still have fun and still enjoy life on a different type of budget for the moment. And once you increase your income again, you can elevate the lifestyle again and spend a little bit more in a different way. But if you feel like you are struggling, you can't say we need another stimulus, but you just spent a whole bunch of money on Amazon on stuff that you really didn't need, So you have to think about those type of things. And it's good to voice your opinions and have these discussions or debates about finances. But at the same time, you have to come up with solutions. Like, what are we actually going to do? When we live paycheck to paycheck, it's not just the numbers and the money. It affects our mental health. We continue to be stressed, and that stress can roll over and affect people in our families, people at work, and it can affect our performance at work too, and our performance at home. Well, not performance at home, but our presence at home. If we have family in the household, sometimes we can't really be attentive to the people in our lives if we're always stressed about living paycheck to paycheck. So I want to encourage you to think about things like that and be aware of your money habits. And something else I want to add is I want you to add more value to your life. That is going to really help you get out of this paycheck to paycheck cycle. And when I say value, this is a multiple variety of things. So more valuable people, more valuable experiences, more valuable places. There's things that I've done and people told me in the past, like they said they may have been concerned, kind of wondering what the hell is Cleo doing, excuse my language. But like, for example, when I used to live in Denver, Colorado, I had some friends back home say, Cleo, what are you doing in Denver? Like, there's no Black people there. Why are you in Denver, Colorado? First of all, I went there for a work opportunity. Second of all, there's Black people there. It may not be a whole lot, but there's Black people there. If you've ever been to Denver and been to Aurora, Colorado, there is some neighborhoods over there that's straight up hood. And I remember when I first went there, I was just driving around the town and I saw this place. Now, in any city, when you start to see payday loan companies, title loan companies, a whole bunch of liquor stores and rent-to-own places, you already know you in the hood. But this particular hood, I saw all of those, but I also saw this place that the name of it was, well, on the sign it said Laundry and Loans. Now, if that ain't straight ghetto or straight up hood, I don't know what is. I grew up in the hood, so I know of all the different type of places that you can see in the hood or low income neighborhoods. But laundry and loans, you could do your laundry and get a loan. So it's just things like that that makes me remember that, hey, it doesn't matter what city or state we're in. There's going to be nice neighborhoods and then neighborhoods that's not so nice or not so luxurious. But I have people say, Cleo, why are you in Colorado? There's no Black people there. So does that mean I shouldn't go places because there's not a lot of Black people? I'm all for supporting Black people, being around Black people. I'm Black. Lots of my friends and family are Black. I love being Black, but we can't just not want to do certain things because there's not a lot of Black people there. So you have to think about that too. When you're wanting to elevate your life, you have to be able to experience things, and that's going to include you being open to being around other types of people from different types of places. And then also experiences too. If you're someone who likes to just do the same things all the time, that's totally okay if that's what you like. But a lot of times when you do new things and experience new things, it's going to open up opportunities for you in your personal life and your business life. And it's going to help you shift that paycheck to paycheck mindset. If you're still living paycheck to paycheck, ask yourself, what's something that you've done that's new? Meaning a new job, a new group of people that you've met and consistently, been around? Or is it a new city? Did you relocate or have you traveled to a lot of new places? Ask yourself that. That's going to play a role in changing your financial lifestyle, getting out of this paycheck to paycheck cycle. So you want to think about that too. And we need to do a lot of less talking and more action. Talking is great. We got to get some things out, but you also want to think about, what am I actually doing? I know people hate the word budget, but a budget is going to help you get organized with your finances. I know sometimes we don't want to have our money dates or our money meetings with ourselves or with our spouse or with the people that we share expenses with. It may be uncomfortable, it may be boring, but this is something you've got to do. There's no other way around it. So when you go into 2021, start thinking about things like that. You need to start thinking about things that you can do that's new that you haven't done before. I know we've all heard that saying that, to see new results, you got to do some new things, you got to try some new things, switch some things up, because it is true. You have to do new things. Now, every new thing you experience or try doesn't mean that that's something that is always going to work for you. Trial and error, right? It's about trying different things to see what works for you, what really helps you elevate and thrive financially. But you have to be open to trying new things, and open to receiving new information, and really taking those risks and making those sacrifices. So again, if you are someone who is living paycheck to paycheck, I don't care how much money you make, if you live in paycheck to paycheck. The first time that I actually had an experience where I was paid and I forgot that it was payday, it was one of the best feelings ever, because I was like, I'm not even pressed about it being a payday. I just got a direct deposit, but it literally can sit there till my next payday. That when I first started having those type of paydays, to where I didn't even know it was payday, wasn't waiting on it, and when I got paid, I could still let that money, I didn't even need to touch it. It could actually sit there to next payday. That's one of my definitions of financial freedom. One of them is receiving money, but not being so pressed for it, meaning I'm gonna still be okay if that direct deposit didn't come through. If that check didn't come through, I'm gonna still be straight. That's when you've reached a certain level of financial freedom, when you're not stressed, worried, and waiting until that next paycheck, or until that next customer, or that next client. Yes, we want those deposits. We want those paychecks. We want those transactions. We want those sales, right? But you don't want to be in a position where you're living your life waiting on the next sale, or waiting on that next paycheck, or waiting on that next client. You want to be free to where you're not even worried about it, and your bills are still paid, but you can also have money to do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it. Be content and be grateful for what you have, but also be willing to want and desire more for yourself as well. There is a balance there. Yes, we don't want to always chase money. We never want to chase money at all. Chasing money is just going to lead you down to being stressed, depressed, and unhappy, and continue to feel these money voids that you're never going to feel, because you're going to always feel like you want more money and need more money. But start thinking about the money that you already have, and how can I manage that better? You can't expect to get more money if you are mistreating the money that you already have, or mismanaging the money that you already have. I'm going to say that again. You cannot expect to get more money in your life if you're not already taking care of the money that you already have. I'm not saying be perfect, but what I am saying is to find ways to improve your money habits, so you can really get those financial results, financial goals, financial experiences that you've always wanted. That was something that held me back for a long time, my mindset. I was feeling sorry for myself, depressed about things, made excuses, and I constantly compared my life to other people's, wondering, how did they get this and how did they get that? Or I wish I could be like them. No, you don't want anyone else's life, period. You have no idea what they're going through behind closed doors, because we all know how social media is, right? We're all showing the positives. There are a lot of us out there who share the real and raw stuff, even if it's some negative stuff. We share hard things, right? But a lot of us don't share everything, and that's okay too. So I just want you to understand that you can't compare yourself to other people. Your journey is your journey. And no matter if we're in a recession or pandemic, no matter if you lost your job, it doesn't matter what is going on. There is always a way to elevate. So when you have that type of mindset, you experience things differently. You respond to things differently. Years ago, when I would lose a job, or if I would get into a negative financial situation, I would stress out so bad. I would stress myself out and worry so bad. But nowadays, I know that I'm going to be all right. Even though I'm not sure how things are going to play out, but I know in the end I'm going to be okay. So I have to have that mindset that I know if this is something that's negative that I'm in, if this is a negative financial season, this is temporary. This is temporary and it's not going to last forever. So I might as well cry my eyes out, be upset, let that out, and start figuring out what am I going to do next. That is what I live by when I experience anything, whether it's good or bad. I'm acknowledging my thoughts and my feelings and emotions about it, but now I'm trying to see what can I do next. And don't be afraid to ask for help. I know sometimes we don't want to invest in ourselves. Let's be real. If we really want to reach certain financial levels, it's going to require time, it's going to require energy, and it's going to require money. Nothing is free in this world. You're going to have to give up something to get something in return. And that's just the way it is. We all know this, right? We can do a lot of self-help things. Yes, we can read these books and we can watch these videos, but only so much. There is going to be a point in time in your personal finances and your business finances where you are going to have to give up time, energy, and or money to get to that next level. It's called investing in yourself. If you invest in yourself, you're going to get a return. It's all about what you put into it. So if you have not reached that level you want to get to, ask yourself why. If you're having difficulty figuring out why, get a therapist, a mentor, a counselor, financial coach, a financial advisor. Get someone to help you. Or it could just be a friend. You don't have to necessarily hire a professional. Maybe you just need a friend to talk to. A friend who is not going to be no yes man or yes woman, but they're just going to tell you straight up like it is, tell you something that you really need to hear. And whoever you're talking to, make sure it's someone who either loves you or they genuinely care about you and want to see you really win. And you know they're going to tell you not just what you want to hear or what they think you want to hear or give you some fake response, but they're actually going to give you real advice, real feedback, something you can actually use, okay? And I want you to take it in, but you have to be open to receive it now. Don't go asking people for feedback and advice and it's just going to go in one ear and out the other. Like, you actually have to put time, energy, and or money into this path that you're taking. So your homework this week is setting some time to really figure out, am I really living paycheck to paycheck? I know I'm laughing, but sometimes you gotta laugh and smile to make yourself feel good and to start that positive mindset about this process. Are you living paycheck to paycheck? Go through those numbers. Sometimes we don't think we're living paycheck to paycheck, but once we go through our checking accounts, savings accounts, investment accounts, financial statements, our bills, pay stubs, you'll start to realize if you're really living paycheck to paycheck or not. And if you are, or you close to it, changes need to be made. Change needs to be made. No more putting it off to next month or next year. No putting it off till you make more money. No putting it off till you get a new job. No, you can do this now. That's one of the reasons why you might be living paycheck to paycheck still, because you haven't taken that next step or that first step. What I've learned is if there's something that I want, I have to take it step by step. And sometimes that next step won't be revealed to you until you take the next step and the next step. Sometimes one step at a time is revealed to you, and sometimes it's multiple steps at a time. So we're going to get out of this paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. We're going to break these generational financial curses. Just because our parents or our family or our friends, we're all living paycheck to paycheck, that doesn't mean that we got to still live paycheck to paycheck. We can make the change and live a different type of lifestyle, no matter what city we live in, no matter what income we have, no matter what is going on in our lives. You have the power to change it. Not the government, not your family, not your friends. You are responsible for changing your financial tree. your financial tree individually and your financial tree as a whole. Generational changes. Generational wealth is our goal, all right? So this is the end of the show today. But before I go, I want to encourage you to do your best every single day, every single week. And as you navigate through your journey, your financial journey, don't wonder what if, take a risk and have a productive and amazing week.
Financially free with Cleo.